Okay, so I'm going to be starting on the room image, which is the main image for chapter 3. I'm doing this on the Chromebook, just like you are. We're using Photopea instead of Photoshop because this video lesson is for people who are at home doing this. And you can see the URL right here, photopea.com. And so there's not much else to tell you about that, except that's what we're using. You will still need to be able to go to Canvas in order to get the pictures we're going to be working with, okay? Now, the pictures are in order, so if you just click on the next button down there, I'm clicking previous to go back. Let me just click here to go back to show you where they are. And I'll scroll down, see if I can find that. We're looking for room.psd, so that's where we're starting right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on room.psd. Now, because it is a Photoshop document, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on download room.psd. It will open. No, it won't, because we're using Photopea. So we've got that open. Now we're going to go back to Photopea. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open from computer. And we're going to come over here and find room.psd. Okay, I'm going to click on open there. Okay, now before doing a whole lot else, we're going to go through the process of resetting this because I've got everything all over the place on this thing. So I'm going to start by pressing the letter D as in Delta, selecting the default colors, selecting window. Now there is something to keep in mind here. I am using the mouse because I frankly could not find a way to do this without just using the touchpad. So that is going to be a little bit of an issue here. Okay, and I'm looking for something here. Okay, real quick, to reset the workspace, what I did was use the refresh button. Make sure you have saved before you use the refresh button. So, oops, new project. No, we're not doing that. That was a slip on my part. Open from computer. Come over here to room1.psd. Good. So now we have this opened. I'm just going to go ahead and press Control-0 to take that out to full screen. And so that was the beginning of this. We're now on page 144. And we're going to go ahead and start by creating another layer. Then I'll explain what these layers are. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and select the quick selection tool. And you saw where I went here, magic wand tool, or press the letter W, and then you may have to right click on what's there to find it. Okay, quick selection tool. And you see that little circle down there. I can make that circle bigger by pressing the square bracket keys that are next to the letter P, or I can come up here and type another number in the size box, okay? So now that I've done that, I'm going to click down here, but you notice that in this case, now this is a difference between this and Photoshop, it selected too much. We don't want it to get the fireplace. So at this point, I'll come up here and click on minus. Now I'm going to subtract from the selection, and I'm going to click on the fireplace. Now we have the selection we wanted, okay? And so at that point, I'm going to move the cursor into the center of the floor area, and you notice this dotted line all the way around everything. That's what I'm talking about when I say the selection. And we're going to right-click. No, we're not. Control-Z. Good. Or we could have come up here. And we're going to come up here to layer. Again, there are differences between this and Photoshop. And it will take a few minutes for me to get all that down. Okay, and we're going to come over here. We went to layer, new, layer via cut. Via simply means by way of, and we need to make sure we're naming so by way of making a cut. We need to make sure we're naming these layers. Now I need to tell you what these layers are. The best way to think of layers is the way that they're used by cartoonists. All of the elements in the drawing are drawn on a piece of transparent plastic, and those pieces are put on top of each other. Now, the advantage is we can move, remove, modify any of those pieces of plastic whenever we want to, any of those layers whenever we want to, and it doesn't mess up the rest of the picture. Okay, so with that said, we created something called layer 1 here, and I'm going to double click on the word layer 1. I'm just going to type in carpet, and I'll hit enter. Now we're going to change the color on these tabs. Now they do odd things with the tab colors here, and I am aware of that, but they want us to do it because they want you to see all of the colors. So I came over here to the active layer, and you can see the difference in the gray there, okay? And you can see which one is the active or current layer. Right now the carpet is the active or current layer. So now I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the carpet layer and go to color and come up here to yellow because that's what they want in the book. Okay, at that point, we're done with this step. Now, the next thing we're going to start doing is start bringing things into the image. Before we do that, I want to show you what these little eyeball buttons do. If I go ahead and click on that button, now here's the thing. It isn't gone. This checkerboard simply means transparent. Just go ahead and make that visible again. So you can hide layers. And there are times in this assignment that we will be hiding layers, okay? Just so you're aware. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is bring the sofa image into our picture. So we'll come over here to this. We're going to click on next. And it's going to open go to sofa. Download sofa. It's done downloading. So let's come back to our picture here. File, open, and we're going to find the sofa. Good. Now this one, we're going to use the same copy method we've used before. Control A, Control C. Then we're going to come over here and click on the Room Image tab over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and Control V. The sofa is now in the picture. Now I want to move it, so I'll use the Move tool up here. If you're having trouble finding it, press the letter V as in Victor. And then I'm just going to move that sofa till it's kind of where it would be in a room. Make sure it's not floating up high, okay? Now, I'm going to come over here to Layer 1, double-click on that, name it Sofa. Okay, and hit Enter. And I'm just going to look and see what color they wanted that tab to be. They wanted the tab to be blue. That's good. Okay, they use different colors than I would use, but that's okay. Color and blue. Now, I want to show you something that could have gone wrong, okay? Because if you're looking at yours and you're seeing, and I'm going to purposely mess this up just so I can show you what happened. If you're looking at that, okay, Move tool. If you're looking at that, what happened is you were on the background layer when you created the sofa layer. You needed to be on the carpet layer, but this is easy to fix. I'm going to hold the Control key down with my left hand and look next to the letter P, and you'll see some square brackets. I'm going to click on the one furthest from the letter P, the one closer to the letter P, move stuff down. We're going to look at this again when we do the pole lamp, just to let you know. So I'm going to move the sofa to kind of where it would be in a room. And we're pretty well done with the sofa layer at this point. So I can come up here and I can just go ahead and click on that X next to sofa.psd. Do you really want to close it? Yes. Before we go much further, we do need to save this thing. File, save as PSD. And we're going to go ahead and give this thing a new name. So I'm just going to call it Room Photopea Video. Yes, you are hearing students moving around in the room. They're working on an assignment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. And now we've given it a name, Photopea Video. Good. Now let's come over here to this, and we're going to go to the painting image by clicking on Next. Okay, painting.psd. Click Download painting.psd. Great. Come back to Photopea. File. Open. Painting.psd. Okay, now, there are three elements here, so don't just copy this in yet. There's a wall, there's a frame, and there's a painting. We want the painting in frame, okay? This is going to be pretty easy. We're going to come over here and select the rectangular marquee tool. We're going to take that marquee tool to the corner of the frame right here, and you see where I'm at. I'm at the upper left corner. Trying to get precise. Press and hold the left mouse button down and draw that marquee just like that. Now it's easy. Control C, and the only thing you're copying is the area within the selection. Room, Photopea, Control V. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and use the Move tool, V as in Victor, move the painting behind the sofa, and it's pretty obvious something is wrong here, okay? Well, let's first go and rename this. So layer 1, we're calling painting. Good. Enter. And I'm just going to take a quick look and see what color they wanted the painting tab to be. Red. Okay, color, red. Pause here for a minute. Okay, so we're on the painting layer. We're going to start with Control. No, we're not going to go Control T because we're in Photopea. We're going to click on Show Transform Controls. Good. Now, with that done, okay, so you can see with this painting here that it's not really working right. It's flat and the rest of the room has perspective. So what we want to do is adjust this painting so that the top edge is parallel to this seam up here at the top and the bottom edge is parallel to the seam down here at the bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do here is make sure that we're on the painting layer. Then we're going to go ahead and select Free Transform, Alt Control T, or just click on it right there in the Edit menu. Okay. Now I'm going to right click on the painting and I'm going to select Skew. Now, when you're using this, what you need to do is go straight down from the corner here. Don't go out at an angle. So I'm just going to move my cursor over the top right corner here. You can see, press and hold the mouse button down and go straight down until the top edge is relatively parallel to this seam on the wall. Do the same thing down here at the bottom. I'm going to go to the bottom edge, press and hold, and go straight up, okay, until the bottom of the painting is parallel to the back of the sofa. And by doing that, we can adjust the painting so that it kind of looks like it belongs on the wall. When we're done doing that, we will commit the transformation by clicking on the check mark. Okay, so that was bringing in the painting layer. Okay, I'm going to throw forward in the book here. And the next thing we're going to bring in is the coffee table. Now, if the coffee table, we're also going to be using some other erasing tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is just close that painting image right there because we don't need it anymore. We can go ahead and save by clicking on File and Save. We already named it, saved as PSD, so we just needed Save. Okay, let's come back up here. Next. And download coffee table. Good. Go back to Photopea. And we're just going to go File, Open, and we're going to go ahead and open that coffee table. Now, we need to separate the coffee table from its background. And it's not nearly as hard as it seems like it's going to be. First, before we even move it, I'm going to do the work on it right here in this window so that there's nothing behind it yet. And the first thing I'm going to do is start using some of the eraser tools. So I'm going to press the letter E, and that's going to open my eraser tools over here. I'm going to right click on those eraser tools. The one I want to use is the Magic Eraser tool right here. Great. Now, I'm going to turn off contiguous. The reason I turn that off is because when I get rid of this back here, I want to get rid of it in here. I also want to get rid of it between these rails. Hopefully you're not clicking anywhere yet. So we've opened the Magic Eraser tool. We've selected contiguous. We've deselected contiguous, and now we are going to click once. Okay, you saw that we just got rid of a lot of stuff in this picture. Now, the next thing we're going to do is select the tolerance and lower that a lot, like 10. Okay, so just as a comment, the higher the number of the tolerance, the more it erases when you click. The problem is you're going to start wiping out your coffee table when we do this, if you have that too high. So we want to remove it a little bit less right now. Now let's go ahead and recheck contiguous so that we limit the amount of stuff we wipe out whenever we click. I'm just going to go over here and click over here and there, and I got a couple little lines here. Okay, I'm having trouble getting those lines. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and choose the lasso tools, and I press the letter L to select the lasso tools, and I want the polygonal lasso tool. So now I'm going to come over here and click right about there, on the edge here. Come back up over here and back to where I started. Now I can use the regular eraser tool. So I'm just going to come over here to this one, and I'm going to use the regular eraser tool. Now we can change the size of that circle by pressing the square bracket keys, furthest, bigger, closer, smaller. The square bracket keys are next to a letter P. I'm just going to get rid of that line right there. And what the selection of the polygonal lasso tool does for me, Control D, get rid of it, is it limits where is going to be erased. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that for a few more of these. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and zoom in quite a bit down here. So you can see I use the magnification tool. Just going to go ahead and zoom in down there some. Use the red scroll wheel or scroll wheel on the mouse. If you don't have the scroll wheel on the mouse, you can click on the hand tool here and move stuff around with the hand tool. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to that polygonal lasso tool. And it's going to click right here in this corner. I'm going to click in this corner. Come down to here. Come over to here somewhere. And to there. Good. Now I'm just going to go back to the regular eraser tool and just erase the stuff that's within that selection, just like that. Control D. Okay, I'm going to go to the hand tool again. Move this over to here. Looks like I need to zoom out a tiny bit here. Wrong way. Good. Hand tool. Okay, zoom out a little bit more. There we go. That's probably enough. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to click right here, carefully in this corner. You do want to be careful here because you don't do a good job of selecting. It's going to come out looking crummy. Way over to here because we see stuff all the way down there. Come over to here, to there, to there, to there, and all the way back to where we started. And there we go. Now we can just go ahead and use the regular eraser tool, again by pressing the letter E to turn on the eraser tool. And I'm just going to get rid of all of this at once, okay? And I see a little tiny bit in there. Control D. I'm going to zoom in on that using this. Okay. Hand tool. Great. Polygonal lasso tool. To the corner. Out to about here. And back to my starting point. Good. And E for the eraser tool. Got rid of that stuff in there. Good. Control D. Now hand tool again. And I'll come back over to this side where I have a little bit of stuff over here. So I'm just get rid of this. So again, here I can just use the rectangular select if I want to. I'm just going to go right there. Oops. Press and hold. Draw that nice big rectangle. Press the letter E and erase. Good. Okay. There's a tiny bit left inside of this here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get that. Control D. And that we're just going to sort of freehand here. Okay. So you can see that there when I go to the regular eraser tool mode. Now I want, okay, we don't have block. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller using the square bracket key. At the same time, I'm going to zoom in quite a bit so that we can really see what we're doing here. Okay, we just want to get rid of this right here. And so E, see that's still a little bit big. Make that bit smaller. There we go. Now it's 1 pixel. And we're just going to erase right in there. Good. And Control 0. Okay, we're now done with this. Make sure you're not on the eraser tool. At this point, just go back to Move tool. Control A, Control C. Let's go back to our room. Control V. And there's our coffee table. I'm going to move it around a bit to see if there are any pieces left, any parts left, floaters. There aren't. Okay. Okay, before we go any further, I just want to rename this layer here, coffee table. Hit enter. And I'm going to look over here just to see what color they want that tab to be. They want it gray. That's really ugly, but that's okay. So I can come down here and gray. Okay, so again, we can see on this coffee table that the angles are wrong. See, it's just sitting the wrong way for this room. What we want is the back edge of the coffee table to be parallel to that seam right there on the sofa. So again, let's make sure we have the coffee table layer selected. Come over here to Edit. and come down here to free transform. Now I can right click on the coffee table image. Now they say to use perspective. We'll try that first. It may not work, but it works in the textbook, but it may not, no, because perspective isn't going to give us that. So we're going to go ahead and right click on it again and select skew. Now let's try that, grabbing that center one and yep, and lifting straight up using the center side, that center right sizing handle until the edges are parallel. Once we have that done, we'll just go ahead and click on the check mark to complete the transformation. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and find the Ivy image. I'm just going to click on next over here and wait and download ivy.tiff. And it's downloaded. Good. Let's go back to Photopea. Hey, okay. Okay, at this point, I'm going to get rid of the coffee table right over here by clicking on that X over there. And let's make sure we save. Control S, making sure that we saved. Now we're going to go ahead and open the Ivy layer. So let's come back over to here. Okay, we've already downloaded Ivy. Maybe we did. Okay, Photopea, File, Open, and Ivy right here. Good. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Open, and there's our Ivy. Now with this one, we're going to be using a different tool, one we really didn't use or we haven't used before. So we're going to be using what's called the background eraser tool. Super useful tool. In fact, while I'm doing this, I was talking to another student about using it to make a moderately convincing picture of our principal shaking hands with the president. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this just sort of like that. Now I'm going to come over here and find the background eraser tool. And again, remember, if you can't find an eraser tool, press the letter E, and then it will take it to that little sub menu. So I'm going to go to background eraser right here. Good. And I'm going to make that circle bigger by pressing the square bracket key that is furthest from the letter P. Now the way this is going to work, and I'm going to uncheck contiguous right now, okay? The way this is going to work, it's going to look for the color underneath of that cross in the center, okay? And then it's going to erase everything that is that color in the circle. So by unchecking contiguous, it'll go in even to places like this that aren't touching anything. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, coming over to here. And I can just move doing this too. If you're moving, be very careful that you're not dragging the cursor over stuff you don't want to get rid of. Okay, so we got rid of a lot of it right there. Now, one of the problems is, as you can see, we kind of wiped out a lot. We're going to work on that later on as we make some adjustments to the Ivy layer. Okay, so at this point, I do want to zoom in some because I want to go to these chains. Oops, wrong way. I want to go to these chains right here, okay? And we want to get rid of those. Here I was able to use the scroll wheel. Again, if you can't use the scroll wheel, then use the hand tool right there. We've used the hand tool before. I'm going to go back to that background eraser tool. I'm going to make that circle a lot smaller now by pressing the square bracket key furthest or closer to the letter P, making it smaller. And you can see it's changing the number right here. So you could manually go change that number right there too. Now, what I'm going to do here is referred to as scrubbing. Because when I click, let's not have this one to get rid of everything. That's embarrassing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do these, and then I'll show you how the scrubbing works later on, because we will have to use that later on. This one, I'm going to use the hand tool, because I feel like there was another chain there. There was. Okay, back to here. And click, and it's gone. Good. Okay, hand tool. So the next thing I want to do is get rid of this brown down here. Now here's the problem. If I use this tool to get rid of the brown, so I'm going to come over here and select that tool again. If I were to come over here and do that and click, you see that it gets rid of way too much of the green too. And that's because there's too much of that brown in the green. So first I'm going to do what I just did by pressing Control Z. Okay, what we need to do here is lower the tolerance to about 10. Okay, so remember, the lower the number, the less it erases. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and make the circle bigger again. So I'm making that circle a lot bigger by pressing the square bracket key. Oops, I was still in the tolerance box. So 10, good, and enter. Okay, now I'll go ahead and make that circle bigger. Now, but when I click, you see that you still wiped out a lot of our plant, but you can see it left all these little artifacts behind. So I actually need to go and get them too, okay? So there's quite a bit here, and you can see that it's actually taking out more of our plant that I'm happy with. So guess what? We're gonna lower, you can see where I'm working right now, background eraser, background eraser. Scroll up some. I'm still in the history panel. Good. Okay. So I'm going to lower this number even more, okay, 5. So the lower of a number, then enter, the lower of a number, the less it erases, okay? But we don't want to be erasing our plant, and unfortunately that leaves us in a bind when we're doing this. Okay, so I am going to zoom out some for a moment, Control 0. I just want to get that there. Now I'm going to make the circle quite a bit bigger again. So again, I'm going to hold the square bracket key and click, click. Now I want to get some of this other brown out of there, okay? So you guys can basically see what I'm doing to get rid of all of these artifacts. Now over here isn't as big a deal because I can just use a regular eraser tool over here. Okay, want to get rid of the gray wall behind it. You can see the gray wall that's there. Might want to zoom in on that if you're really not sure what you're looking at. There we go. And now back to the background eraser tool and click. Good. We want to be careful doing this so that we don't wipe out too much of our plant picture, okay? So you see that I'm just going through, clicking on this stuff over again. I'm going to go over to the other side of the wall here. I selected the hand tool. Now I moved over to the other side over here. Back to my erasing tool. Again, I've got the background eraser tool. Again, I've got the tolerance cranked way down so that I'm not erasing more than I need to. Good. And Control 0. Pretty good. I think the rest of this, I'm going to use the regular eraser tool, just a plain old eraser tool. And of course, I'm going to see if I can find that tool here. Okay, I want to make it a lot smaller than this because I got a gut feeling if I were to click right now, it didn't. Okay, okay, so let's go ahead and make that bigger. Where is it? Oh, there it is over there. Good. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this stuff over here. So now I'm just manually erasing, and I'm just getting rid of the stuff that isn't really close enough to the plant to need to worry about too much as I just use the manual eraser over here, just cleaning up this stuff over here, okay? Down in here. Good. Okay, so we've basically separated the ivy. Again, we're going to move back to the move tool so we don't mess up our picture too much. Control A, Control C. Let's go over here to our room, Control V. Now what remains is to resize the plant so that it goes on the mantle. The mantle is that shelf above the fireplace, and we want to make it sort of look like a plant on somebody's mantle or in somebody's house would look. So we want it about 1/3 on and 2/3 off. And you can see the picture on 173. But the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to a corner here, and I'm just going to go ahead and sort of free resize that. I can click on the chain thing and have a little bit more or uncheck the chain thing this time so that I can have a little bit more control over that adjustment. And I'm just going to go ahead and move that plant over to here. And maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go, a little longer. There we go. Okay, I'm sort of happy with that. So, and I'm going to go ahead and finish the transformation. We need to name this layer the ivy layer. The ivy layer. Enter. And I'm going to right click on that, and the color we're going to select will be green. Okay, great. So we've now finished the ivy layer. And so we're going to go ahead and turn the page again. And we want to bring in the pole lamp, okay? And this comes out sounding very wrong if I don't say it slow. Okay, so next. And we're going to download polelamp.psd. Great. We go back to Photopea. File. Open. Pole lamp. Okay. Good. Control A, Control C. Let's go back to Photopea, Control V, and let's move that lamp into the corner. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off transform controls. Those little boxes annoy me. Okay, and it's in the corner, and what's wrong? Well, let's first go ahead and name it, then I'll show you how we're going to fix it. So pole lamp, and I'm looking to see if they want it. Yeah, they wanted orange. So I'm going to hit enter after typing in pole lamp, right click on it, color, and orange. Okay, so what you should be seeing here, okay, is that the pole lamp is in front of everything. That's because it's on the top here. The point they're trying to make and why they had you make this error is they want you to see that whatever is on top of the stack is in front of the picture. Remember when we started, I talked about how everything is on these plastic is the best way of thinking about it is every single part of this image has been drawn on a sheet of plastic and they're just stacked on top of each other. So whatever is on top of the stack is in front. Now, there are two ways of moving something in the layer stack. I'm going to show you their way, then I'm going to show you my way. There's nothing wrong with either one. Neither one is wrong. However, I feel that my way actually gets around a couple things that can go wrong later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold the Alt key and press this. Oops, no, I'm not, because I'm in Photopea. Good. Okay, now I need my layers panel again. There we go. Okay, so here's my layers panel. Okay, everything does look different now, and I know that. In a couple minutes, I will save, and then I'm going to refresh this picture to make it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay, so Control square bracket key. So I'm holding the Control key, and I'm pressing the square bracket key that is next to the letter P. And watch the picture as I click on it again and put it behind the sofa. Now it's behind the sofa. Okay, I'm going to put it back and show you how I do this. So the way I normally do it is I put the hand over the layer that I want to move, press and hold the left mouse button down, and if you look as I'm moving this, you'll see that bar between these layers, and that is showing me where it's actually going to show up when I release the mouse button. So if I put it above the carpet, below the sofa, and release, that's where it's going to put it, okay? I'm not saying either way is completely right. They're just two different ways of doing it. Neither one's wrong either. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and save, Control S. And because I had all this happen, I'm going to go ahead and click on refresh to reset the entire image, reload, and we'll see what happens. Okay, open from computer. So note we did have to save before I did something crazy like that. And click on open. Okay, good. So just remember Control 0. So before you do anything like that, make sure you save. You should be saving often. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add the mantle decorations to the room. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'll go to Next, and I'll wait. And download mantle decorations.psd. Back to Photopea. File. Open. Mantle decorations. Open. Good. Now I've got the mantle decorations, Control A, Control C, Photopea, Control V. And so the next thing I'm going to do is find where I put those. Here it is, layer 1. I'll double click on that and call it mantle decorations. Mantle decorations, enter. And it wanted those to be violet. So I'm going to right click on mantle decorations, color, and okay, purple. Okay, now, an obvious issue with the mantle decorations, you can see that they're currently below the sofa layer. That actually won't matter much. I'm on the move tool so I can move them. But I can, again, move them up simply by, again, holding the Control key and pressing the square bracket key that is furthest from the letter P. It all works. Now, I want to resize these. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over here and click on Transform Controls, and then I'm going to click on a corner. Don't drag, just click. Now you see that it opened the size menu. I'm going to click on the chain thing here. What that's going to do is maintain the ratio between the width and the height. And I'll just select one of these, doesn't matter which one, 33.33 or 1/3, enter. Okay, now they're a lot smaller. I can move them over here to where they would be on a mantle. Okay, now we're going to do one more thing over here. Over here, click on Free Transform. The reason we did that is You notice the mantle decorations are straight up and down, but look at the edge of the line right here from the fireplace. So they look wrong again. And so we're going to go ahead and adjust that by right-clicking on them and again selecting Skew. This is different than we do in Photoshop in the book. Now I'm just going to come up here to this top one right here, top center, press and hold. Just go a tiny, tiny bit. That's too far. A tiny bit to the right. And now you've sloped them just a little bit so they're sort of parallel to these lines on the front of the fireplace. Then we'll click on the check mark. And now I'm going to turn off transform controls because I hate those little squares. They annoy me. And then I'm going to zoom in on it because I want to see if I've actually got them on the fireplace. I do. Okay. What happens here is a lot of students, they wind up with them like that or something, and it's easy to see once you in the picture that they're not on the fireplace mantle. So now they're on the mantle. Good. Control 0. Great. Control S to save. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, change, hold it, Photopea will be able to, yeah, save changes, yes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is bring in a potted plant, but we need to do something that the book doesn't tell us to do in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the mantle decorations here. Yeah. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, of course, is come back over here. Next, download potted plant. Okay, back in Photopea here, file, open, potted plant. Okay, now here's where something's different between what we have and what the book and what we see in Photoshop. In Photoshop, behind this plant is transparent. For whatever reason, it does not open that way in Photopea. But we already know how to handle this problem. We're going to go ahead and press the letter E for the eraser tool. We're going to right click on that. We're going to select the background eraser tool. We're going to go ahead and make that thing a lot bigger by holding the square bracket key next to the letter P. We're going to go ahead and uncheck contiguous. We're going to move it right about there. So you see that the circle completely covers everything. So I'm going to do this in one click. Click. Done. Okay, that's all you were going to do there. Go ahead and leave that tool. Control A, Control C. Let's go back to Room and Control V. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and name that layer Plant or Potted Plant. Enter, and we'll make that layer color green, which really does make a lot of sense. I would normally make all of the plants in the room green. Okay, at this point, we're going to zoom in on that potted plant because we're going to do something to it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is apply a layer mask. It is different than erasing, okay, because it's reversible. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But you can go backwards from it, and that's a very important thing because once you save, you lose your history panel, and then you can't reverse out of stuff. So if you're not 100% sure if this should be removed, whatever, you might want to, instead of erasing it, applying a layer mask. Fortunately, this is super easy. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is on this here, I'm going to click on Add Mask. Okay, I'm going to press the letter D, and then I'm going to push the letter X. What I want is I want black over white over here in this corner. Okay, I know it's hard to see because I have the control box over it, but on yours it'll be easier because you won't have video controls in the way. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and press the letter B to turn on the brush tools and erase. Now, if I suddenly said, oops, didn't want to do that, then what I can do, press the letter X to reverse the colors down here, and I can just go in and put that right back, okay? And you can do that even after you've saved the picture, even after you completely closed it. So it's a very, oops, X, and I can start doing that again. So black over white. Okay, now, and you can actually see it starting to show the mask that it's applying right over here. Now, the thing is, getting this edge down here is sometimes not very easy. Yeah, see that? So I'm going to undo that X because I made a mess. Instead, what I'm going to do is, again, we're going to use a tool we use a lot in this class. We're going to use that polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click like right there. Draw that line, click. As long as I'm at it, I'll just get the rest of this while I'm doing this, make it fast and easy. There we go. Now, go back to the brush tool by pressing the letter B and X. And then I can get rid of everything. And I can make that brush tool a lot bigger now because I know now that I can't erase the pot accidentally because it's outside of the selected area. And then Control D. And let's go ahead and use the Move tool and Control 0. And click on the Move tool and Control 0. I think I clicked on Control O. Okay, I've got the Move tool selected. I'm just going to move that pot right about there. Okay, Control S for save. Okay, so at this point, we've got this part done. We've got everything in the room. The next thing we're going to start doing is fine-tuning the layers, adjusting the tone, the intensity, just making little adjustments to all of these layers to make it look a little bit better. So the very first thing we're going to do is go to the Mantle Decorations. This whole room is a very soft room. All of the things in the room at this point, just the coloration is soft, and the Mantle Decorations might be a little bit too strong. So we want to adjust the opacity. Okay, if something is 100% opaque, it is 0% transparent, like the wall. If it is 100% transparent, it's like the air between you and the wall, okay? Assuming you're not in the house is on fire or something. Okay, so with those two boundaries, like window glass would be like 98% opaque. It's not completely opaque or you wouldn't be able to see it, but it's pretty close. I mean, sorry, 98%, so 2% opaque. It would be like window glass. 98% transparent. So we want to lighten these up a little bit. So I'm just going to come over here and click in these and put in 85 and enter. And it just softened them up a tiny bit, helping them match the rest of the room. And that looks okay. So the next thing we're going to start doing, though, is making some adjustments to the levels. And when I say levels, I'm talking about the color levels. So I'm going to come over here and find the sofa layer. Okay, great. After finding the sofa layer, I'm going to come up here to the Levels button under the Adjustments panel and click. Now, I want to show you what goes wrong and how to fix it. If I grab one of these sliders here, it does stuff to the whole room. That's because we haven't clipped it to the layer below it. I'm going to click on this now. Now, the room is back to what it is, and now you see that little tiny arrow right there. That little tiny arrow is pointing at the sofa, indicating that everything we do now in this levels layer is only happening to the sofa. So let's go ahead and pick some colors here. Red. Okay, that's a little different. How about this? Bring this guy in. Okay, and how about green? All I really care about, I'll just tell you this, is I want that sofa to be a different color than it was when you started, and I want to be able to identify it's a sofa, okay? So don't go for something absurd, okay? Well, that wasn't too bad. I just need to be able to identify that it's a sofa when you're done, and I want it a different color than it was. If you remember, it was light blue. Okay, so that was the levels adjustment where you're adjusting the level of the red, green, blue content in the object, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close this panel by coming right here in the vertical dock and clicking on that. Now, the next one we're going to go to is the coffee table. That means I got to find the coffee table. Coffee table. So on the coffee table, what we're going to adjust instead is the hue and saturation. So I'm going to click on hue and saturation. Now remember, if you just start sliding stuff, it does the whole room. You need to click on the clip to layer button down here. Now we're just doing the coffee table. You can see because the arrow is pointing at the coffee table. And again, I just want the coffee table a color it wasn't when we came in, okay? Make sure I can really tell that it's a coffee table, and you see how the wood grain is there? So don't wipe out the grain too much, but now it's a different color. That's all I care about. Just make it a different color, one that you think looks attractive. Okay. Okay, now if you're finding this really frustrating and you can't find the buttons over here, I do want to point out you can find them over here under Image Adjustments. They've actually got them all over here too. Okay, I am just working on them right here though. So the next one we're going to do is the background layer. And we're going to be doing the brightness and contrast adjustment. Now, again, we want to click on clip the layer. Otherwise, of course, as you know, I've told you it does this. So let's click on that little box right there. And now it is clipped to the background layer. Now, brightness, exactly what it sounds like, 10. And the contrast is just the difference between the light and the dark areas. And we're going to go ahead and change that to -10. So we're lightening this room up a lot more too. Good. So now we've got that one done. I'm going to go ahead and close that panel. We still have one more to do. We're going to add a layer style, which basically it doesn't change the actual pixels of what we're working on. It just basically puts a layer over it. So for that one, I want you to go up to the ivy layer. Let's go ahead and find that ivy layer. There it is, green ivy layer. And we're going to come down here to the add layer style button, and we're going to click on bevel and emboss. So we got a lot of options in here. I'm going to sort of move this over so you can see what we're doing here. You can see there by looking at the ivy and what's going on with it. And then we're going to change that to 50. Size, okay, the size of the shadows, and you can see how we're changing the direction of the light there. And we're going to go ahead and change that to 10. Yeah, I'm looking at the book. I'm looking at the book on page number 189, if you're wondering where I'm at. And soften, we're just going to go ahead and change that to 5, and then click on OK. So we've now got that part of our image done. So we've got quite a bit here done. Now, the only thing that's left is we're showing this to the customer and saying this is what your living room will look like when we're done decorating it. And the customer says, what would it look like with wood floors? Okay, good question. And we're going to go ahead and do that using the clone stamp tool, and that's on page number 190. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is come down here to the carpet layer. And I'm going to go and I'm going to hold the Alt key down and then click on the visibility button, the eyeball next to the carpet layer, and you can see that gets rid of everything. Yeah, I see this little stringy thing here. It won't show up. So now everything but the carpet layer has been hidden. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and create another layer. So I'm going to click on Layer, New, Layer. Good. So, and where did that put it? I think it put it, okay. I need to get rid of this layer because I put it the wrong place, as you can see, guys. I could move it, I guess, so I'll move it. But you should have been on the carpet layer when you did this. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it to show you guys how to get rid of a layer. I'm going to right-click on it, delete layer, delete. Good. Now I'll come down here and be where I'm supposed to be. Carpet layer. I could have sworn I clicked on the carpet layer. Anyways, layer, new layer. Okay, now we have a layer above the carpet layer. First thing I'm going to do is name it wood flooring. Don't just name it flooring, and you will understand in a few minutes. Enter. Now I'm going to right-click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and make that yellow just like the carpet was. And I'm going to right-click on clip, and this time I'm going to select clipping mask. This part is important. And so I've now got that little arrow pointing down at the carpet layer. Fantastic. Now, it's going to sound kind of weird. We're going to come up here, and we're going to come way up here, and we're going to go to the potted plant layer. Now, we're going to bring in something else. There's a reason I had you click on potted plant, okay? Now I'm going to come over here. Next. And the next thing we're going to do is download the flooring JPEG. Great. Now, let's go back to our image. Okay, Photopea. Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way. And File, Open, and Downloads. Okay, and Flooring, and Open. Okay, now I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit, but I don't think it's going to really help us much. But I'm going to click on this. Don't know that that'll really help too much. Control A, Control C. Let's go back to our room, and we're up here on the potted plant layer. Control V. Good. Okay, and that's actually what we wanted. We wanted that plank there as another layer. Now I am going to now choose the Move tool, and I'm going to move this plank so that it's not covering the flooring and so that I can see this edge over here, okay? Seeing the other edge isn't quite as important, but I do need to be able to see this edge right here. Okay, that's done. Now, the next thing we're going to do is use what's called the clone stamp tool. And it starts talking about that on page number 190. And what that tool is going to do is copy a pattern from one part of the image of the document and reproduce it in the other. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and find the clone stamp tool. Let's see, I pressed the letter S on my keyboard, and now you see that it showed up, the clones tool. Good. Now, we're going to do something you haven't really, a term you haven't heard before, but we're going to sample, meaning we're going to tell it where to get the information from, okay? So what I'm going to do now is hold the Alt key down, and you see how that turned into a cross there? I'm on the clone stamp tool, and I want that cross very carefully placed, half on, half off, and up and down in the center. So you see where I've got that. That's where I want you to be. I'm still holding the Alt key, okay? I'm going to left click once. Now I release the Alt key. Now, let's go down here to our wood flooring layer. So I clicked on the wood flooring layer. I'm going to go ahead and make this circle bigger. Okay, so I'm going to use the square bracket key. There we go. Now notice that now I have half a circle there. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to carefully line this up with the left edge right there. You see where I'm at. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I'm just going to sweep back and forth, back and forth. By the way, if you're watching closely, you see that little plus sign there showing where you're actually getting the information from. Okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to do something. Now we're going to go get rid of that very top one, that layer one. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to right click, delete, because we don't need that plank in there anymore. I'm going to go ahead and close these, by the way. I don't know why I still had them open. Okay, and close. Okay, so those are closed. Now let's just go click on the move tool again so we don't accidentally mess up some important part of our picture by doing something foolish. And we're just going to go ahead and make all of these layers visible again. Yeah, it's a really tiny little window down here. Can we? No, this won't let us make that window any bigger. Ivy layer, potted plant. Good. Now we got everything in the room done again. Okay, all that remains quite literally is putting our name in this picture. Okay, so just want you to come down here again to our wood flooring layer. That's just a good place to be as we do this. And now you're going to come over here to the horizontal type tool, the big T. Make sure you're selecting the type tool, not the vertical type tool. Let's go ahead and find a font that we like. And so the preview is kind of showing you kind of what that font's going to look like. And so, yeah, sure. So I find that. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the color box right here. I need to move that. So I'm going to move my arrow to right about here in that bar, press and hold and drag, press and hold the left mouse button. And what I want you to do is try to decide which of the two you recolored, your sofa or your coffee table, is the lighter color. I think my coffee table is the lighter color, so I'm going to choose it. And okay. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw my bounding box, okay? Good. Now look at your bounding box and see if you see a little blinky bar in there. To be honest, I don't see one. So I'm going to go ahead and make this box, the font bigger. Now I'm going to click in there and start typing. Good. M. Good. And so I've typed my name. The next thing I'm going to do is change the angle. So I'm going to go out to one of these corners to the bent arrow there. Just going to turn it so that my name is parallel to this seam right up here on the wall. Okay, that's what we're trying for. And I'll move it just a little. Oops, I can't move it yet. And then I'll click on the check mark to commit the transformation. I'm on the move tool, so I'll just move it to right about there, a little bit behind the lamp. And that's kind of behind the lamp's a little bit behind, because that shows that it's on the wall, not on the front of the picture. Again, just a matter of little adjustments to make your pictures look better. Now we're going to go ahead and add a stroke to our name. You remember how to do that. I'm going to come down here to the Add Layer Style button. Stroke. And for the color for my stroke here, I'm going to go to the color box. Now, and again, if I need to move these, I can move them by grabbing up there. I'm going to go to the other one, which in my case was this purple, okay? And that's okay. I do want to make the stroke a little bit thicker there, so I'm just going to go ahead and change that to like somewhere around here. I'm at 8, and I think that's okay. Somewhere in that size range. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK and save. Control S. Okay, it's already less than 6 inches wide. I'll just tell you this. How do I know? I go to Image, Image Size, and here I come down here to Inches, and we can see that it's 5 inches wide, so we don't need to resize it. So we're going to make sure we save it, Control S, and now we're going to save it as a JPEG. So File, Save, Export, Export. Yeah, things are a little bit different in this one, and JPEG. Okay, and that looks fine. Yeah, does look sort of weird here because it's only showing a little thumbnail of it, but I'm 90% sure this thing's going to show correctly when we finish. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and you can go ahead and crank that quality all the way up. It doesn't matter too much, and click on Save. Are you using Photopea? Okay, I'm going to kind of ignore that. It's asking, are you using an ad blocker? That's and I am. Okay, we're done. Let's come down here and we're going to go ahead and look at it in the files, if I can even find it. JPEG, Room Photopea JPEG. Okay, and there you are. And this is what you're going to turn in Canvas. Okay, so remember, you're going to be turning in the JPEG, and that was it.